Okay, we're good. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Good morning and happy Monday. What a great way to start the week with delicious conversations, delicious chat. And today I have this beautiful goddess with me that I'm so excited to introduce to you. And we're going to be chatting, going into some truths and probably like breaking some myths around the divine feminine. We'll see where the conversation goes. But from the last time we connected and chatted, like it was so good. This had to happen. So welcome, Melisa.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I couldn't agree more. I just love like your soul. And I feel like I get the opportunity to connect to somebody like soul to soul. I'm like all about it.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, I remember I was kind of nervous because I saw, like we've connected in the networking. We were both in the book Unleashed, Uncensored. Where is it? Oh,
Untamed.
Untamed. Yeah. I'm like, dang it, I should have grabbed it closer. And we were, like we did networking stuff. So I heard her talking. I was like, I need to get to know this beautiful goddess here, like her confidence and then also her view about the divine feminine. It's not a lot of people who really get it, when it comes to the divine feminine. So Melisa, before we even dive into the deliciousness, tell us a little bit about you, who you are.
Yeah. Professionally, I help high level business women use their feminine energy as their 10x growth strategy. I am a feminine intimacy expert. And so that's what I love doing. I love helping women kind of excavate their gifts and powers in their soul so that they can bring out their most powerful version of themselves and then have the most fulfilled life in their partnerships and in their business. And
Yes.
and yeah, so that's the work that I do professionally. Personally, I have 4 kids and I'm married to a lovely man. And we live on a little hobby ranch and we have goats and chickens. And we just realized all of our bees died over the winters.
Oh
And yeah, but we previously would harvest our own honey and stuff. And right now I have a little box full of chicks sitting in my living room under a grow light. And um yeah, so I live in Reno, Nevada. And I think that my whole life I'm taught over and over that I can't actually show up in ways that are not true to me. And every
no.
time I've tried, I either end up like depressed or broke or beside myself with grief or anxiety or whatever. So call that a gift or a curse. I'm not sure at any given moment, but that's a little snapshot of me in my life.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, even your introduction, it says a lot about who you are because you go in deep, like you talked about professionally, and then you're like, okay, this is also who I am. Like, I'm human. This is who I am. And I love that about you. And I know all of our friends that we share together, they all say the same thing about you. You're not afraid to go deep. And that is what the divine feminine is about. So let's talk about that. Who is the divine feminine?
So what a great question, right? It's like I think that I want to honor that each of us have our own definition, and that matters a lot,
Yes.
actually. As much as our culture and society, because we are so masculine oriented, we just want a straightforward answer and a straightforward formula and a definition, right? But I'll say, for me, the divine feminine is, I immediately think of 2 things. One is that I have a heavenly mother, and that's something that is such a sweet comfort to me. So I actually believe I have heavenly parents.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that has been such a gift to me because my earthly parents struggled so much.
Mm.
So to be able to receive the love of a parent through my divine relationship has been so helpful. And
Absolutely.
I also think that the divine feminine is me. I think that the divine feminine really is like the 3,000 year from now version of ourselves that is already within us. Time is relative. So if we just collapse the timetable, we are already living in our mansions in heaven or ruling over our planets or whatever that looks like, right? And so that is already inside of me. I just get to go in and tap into it. And then the divine feminine becomes super tangible all of a sudden because I'm like experiencing it now inside of me, embodied.
See why I love her? Like immediately. What is the divine feminine? She's like, whoa, okay. We all have our definition. I'm like, oh God, yes. Because that is the truth. There's no one definition. I mean, usually when someone hears about the divine feminine, they start going into the goddesses, so like, goddess Isis and Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. And they're like, hey, yeah, it's you. Can you like pull it back into you? Like you. And I love what you said. Like it is true. Like that version of ourself, which I call the higher self, but it's even a higher aspect of ourselves that's like right there with the divine, like ingrained in the divine, part of the divine, the all-knowing part of you that is connected to all, that is already living the vision that we are currently striving for. Like it's beautiful to connect to that version of ourselves and also to embody that truth that we are the divine feminine. Like that's what me and you, like we're on that. That's what our work is about. Like, let's stop stepping outside and trying to make, for example, Mary Magdalene. I mean, they're flattered. They're totally, but they're like, that's not the point. Stop doing that. We're here to teach you that our codes are within you.
Yeah.
You're as badass as we are. So it's time for you to just take it in and breathe it in and walk and embody it, just however way that you choose to do it, so yeah.
I love that, and honestly, I think the conversation around different archetypes with the divine feminine can actually become super dangerous.
Oh man.
It's another way to measure your performance and where do I measure up and where do I fall short? And it's like total BS. Like, oh, it makes me really angry. However, like the study of different women and how they have expressed their true nature is so enlightening to me.
Yes.
When you look at someone like Isis and you have to confront your sexuality, or you look at someone like Mary Magdalene and you have to confront like how would I have shown up if I was married to Jesus Christ, and how would I have continued to express my truth even in the face of knowing I probably would be killed if I were to actually speak out publicly. Or I look at someone like Kali, the Hindu goddess, and it's like, okay, now I get to come face to face with my anger and and also anger towards men. She's always holding men's heads in all her pictures, and like her necklaces are like skeleton heads, and so you get to come face to face with those parts of you that are the destroyer. And these are so important because they're all parts of us that we have been told are bad, and we pushed them away or put them in boxes and, put them in the back corner, and then they spill out onto our loved ones in ways that make us feel shame or think something's wrong with us. And so to really come face to face with those, I think is so valuable. But to use it to be like, oh, I have to be like this. It's just another way that we haven't been able to take off the masculine lens of measuring and controlling and all that stuff.
Exactly. I loved, for the longest time, I saw my life as like I call it the many faces of the goddess. And that was like my path to embodying the goddess that I am, because these codes are within us, divine feminine, depending on which archetype you're drawn to, their codes are within you. So it's like embodying that. They don't want you to worship them. That's not doing any good for you. It's not helping you with this lifetime. It's not helping you to achieve your dreams. They want you to embrace who you are. They want you to see that the light you see in them is within you, right? So I love Kali. Oh my gosh. She's just so fierce. And when she comes in, again, it's like the sacred anger, right? And that usually most people are afraid of her because of all the skulls, but it's about coming, like she always comes in. Yeah, and the blood, but she comes in, she's like, okay, what's in your way? Let's do this. Get out of her way, right? She's like, let's do this. That ego or whatever that block is, that challenge, whatever is in your way of you achieving your higher self, let's get rid of that. She comes in that warrior mode, but she has the other side that's also very gentle and like that goddess, like just peaceful. And so it's like honoring both sides. It's like when it's time to put that warrior hat on, you better be ready, right? And that's what I always tell women who are connecting to the divine feminine. I'm like, look at Mother Nature. She's our greatest teacher. She is beautiful. She is sweet. She's nurturing. She will hold you. She will love on you. And there are times that she will let out her rage, and there's nothing that will stop that energy from flowing. But it's all part of the divine. She teaches us that we have this powerful energy that can be expressed however way we choose to. That is for the highest good, right? We can choose for it not to be for the highest good, but it is our choice. And it's the same thing. We can choose for it to be in light and in support to others, right? But it is our choice. And either way, we still have that power within us. So I always say, if you want to look at the true divine feminine energy, look at Mother Nature. What is she doing? Because that's the same thing that's swirling within you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know. And gosh, and that goes so deep too. I've been thinking a lot about Mother Nature and how, like, we'll say, oh, go get a walk in, like you need to connect with nature or whatever. And it's so true. But also, I think about how far we've really come from our true connection to the earth. And how, like, just taking a walk in nature is so just scratching the surface. I mean, it's just fascinating. I've been thinking about some of these things, the connection that we have lost. And so often we think, oh, this is the way it's always been because this is the way we knew it and our parents knew it and our parents' parents knew it. But if you go way, way back, I can't help but bring this up. Like, I'm not even I'm not a vegetarian or I'm not, any of these things. But in the US, did you see this thing where just last week they killed 13 million chickens? Because they had this outbreak of some kind of disease in and they couldn't differentiate between which ones had it and which ones didn't. So they literally just had to wipe out, tons of farms, 13 million chickens. And I just think, like, I think there was a time when we felt more at one with animals and we didn't feel like we were so much better than them. And you think about how COVID was handled, like with these gloves and so carefully or whatever. And then you get this outbreak with these chickens and it's like 13 million. Like, it seem like we should at least be weeping over this or something? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
yes.
I feel like maybe that's one of the kind of shadow sides of feminine, is that you open yourself up to feeling way more. But you also find out that you're way more capable of feeling more than you ever thought you could. Because I feel this grief for these chickens. And I probably would have, 5 years ago would have just been like, well, and I don't feel that way now. I'm like, you just feel more. And it's okay because you also trust yourself more.
Exactly. And that is, our original state. So when you look at our spiritual DNA, there's actually a dimension of us that used to be one with the earth. And so we used to be plants, we used to be crystals, we used to be an animal. Like we've all had this dimension. Because if you look at our dimensions, like some of us incarnated as seventh dimensional beings, some of us incarnated as, you know, as high as 12 dimensional, depending on what your mission is in the current lifetime. But we've all been that first dimensional being. I remember I was talking to someone, and she was talking about how she did a past life regression, and she's like, it was so uneventful. I was like, what happened? And she's like, I was a rock underneath a river. And I remember just looking up and just seeing the light just come through the river. And I was just like so dissatisfied. I was so sad. And I was just stuck. I was just a rock. And I was like, yeah, that was your first dimensional being self. Yeah, that was not a weird coincidence. You were a rock. And I bet you if you dive into that, there was something that you needed to learn there. So we have all these dimensions of ourselves that we need to reconnect to, right? And remember. If we reconnect to if we remember that we used to be a plant, you know, there's a reason why we're drawn to certain things, like certain crystals, certain, you know, flowers, certain, you know, animals, because we used to be them. We understand them because we've been there, right? When we reconnect to that dimension of ourselves, when we activate that memory, then it becomes so easy to feel nature again and feel one with nature again. But again, you know, it's a process. It's a
I
process.
take kind of a very different perspective on all of that too, because I don't really resonate with reincarnation, but yet I believe we're all one. And so there's so many aspects of all of that that I feel like matter and can be incorporated. And so I love what you're saying there too. And I also think that's a good a kind of a good segue into another aspect of really understanding the divine feminine in yourself is looking at your DNA and
Yeah.
looking at your ancestry, your feminine lineage, particularly, and how, you know, the different ways that they still influence you. And it's interesting because all of this whole conversation is completely pertinent to business as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just you know, I'm sure you see that too, Abigail. It shows up in every aspect of your life. So, you know, I'll see people who were raised in such a way where they learned that they couldn't really trust people, and then when they go on into their business, they struggle trusting people. They struggle hiring a team. They struggle with that, and so there's these different aspects in our lineage too. And I think also that they, like in their progression, want to help us to be the chain breaker in ways that they didn't access when they were like mortal on the planet. And that's been a huge strength for me.
Absolutely. I agree. I love that you said that, because that's like, you know, just like you were talking about looking at the physical lineage, you know, grandmothers and their mothers and their mothers going back, is the same thing. You can look at the same thing with your spiritual DNA as well, and look at your tree and see, you know, like for example, for me, I'm connected to Mary Magdalene. Like if there was a spiritual genetic testing, it would pop up Mary Magdalene, right? And we all have a codon that's connected to a certain divine feminine lineage. And again, it's connected to our mission on this planet, you know, like what we're here to do, who we are in our core. So it's like merging spirit and earth, right? When you're looking at getting to know who you are, it's no longer just the physical, it's merging heaven and earth, knowing your spiritual side and your physical side and how they come together to be you, this beautiful being right here, right? So cool.
I love that. Yeah, I've had several experiences where my female ancestors have come through in support of my business. And it came initially as such a shock to me because I thought, like, what do they care? And why would beings who have passed on to the other side of the belt care all about money? but it's they do. And particularly my female lineage, there was a lot of struggle around money. And I think probably for most of us, because you just go back a few generations and it's like super difficult for women to even make a mark when it comes to money at all. And so they really do. Like, I find them showing up all the time in little things like, my grandmother's ring will just fall out of the shelf where I have it set, or just these little things, or all of a sudden I'll find myself drawn to her necklace, or my my little daughter. One day I had a few of my ancestors' things laid out on a table, and my 4-year-old got into them, and literally they were scattered all over the house. And I was tempted to sort of panic, because it's like, these are pretty special to me. And then I realized, oh my gosh. So then like little by little, as like they're recovered, I'm like, oh, there's my grandma's glasses, and like just these things. Because I know my ancestors felt so stifled in so many ways. You talk about repressing different parts of yourself. I think that's where this conversation becomes so pertinent, is we've been given this time to really be whatever we want to be, and to really reject the misogyny. Yes. But I think more than anything, so many women are just embracing the misogyny even more, at our own voice. And I feel like now is such a time when we have to look at those voices more than ever and say, like, no, there is no room inside of me to play small. There is no room inside of me to reject my sensuality, or to, put up with a relationship that really I feel like I'm compromising in, or, or choose even business strategies that feel like they're out of alignment for me, or out of integrity. Like, it is a time when we have to say, no, I know who I am, and there's no space for any of that fear, or those shoulds, or those pressures, or those boxes. And I think that's part of why this conversation is so pertinent for us today, for our tangible lives today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was like a perfect segue, because I know you have something coming up to support women. So tell us a little bit about, and this is tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow evening.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Time. And it's called The Real Divine Feminine. I think real often, it's great that we've been bringing the divine feminine and feminine energy into the conversation more, but we're so confused about what it really is. And I see so many people, approaching this, not understanding what it is. And I actually see a lot of powerful business women completely rejecting this conversation.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Like, woo, it's too out there. And she's going to try to convince me to just completely halt all my progress and sit around and meditate under a tree every day. And that is not what this conversation is about. Yep. So it's 2.5 hours long, which is quite a chunk of time. But it's an opportunity to bring in so many aspects. There will be like journaling and kind of some self-discovery. Then there will be opportunity for open sharing, and even storytelling, and even networking, because it's this kind of space where you bring your whole self, not just your business self, not just your, non-business self, but all of it into a space. And I really believe that's like the future of business, especially for women.
It's already happening, right? We already see this, like this, the time where we disconnect certain aspects, or we think it's just a masculine way, or doing it this way. We're beginning to see all of that crumble, and we're being asked more and more to go deeper within ourselves and tap into that authentic nature of who we are, and bring that into our business, because everything that we create is an expression of who we are, and our business is just one of that. Right. So I love it. I love what you're offering. And so I put the details, I think, is above. I always try to say below, but it is above. So if this is feeling good, if you love Melissa's energy, go check it out. Come join her. Trust me, her energy is beautiful and potent, and the wisdom that comes out of her. I mean, you've been able to experience that. So go check it out. There's nothing like being in a group of women that get it, and feeling heard and seen and supported. So when you have an opportunity to do that, do it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Abigail. This has been
It is my pleasure. Thank you for joining me this morning. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another day of Soul Chat. I'll be back on Wednesday with another deliciousness. And yes, you have a blessed day. And until next time, bye.